Hey everyone, it is Dani'i and welcome to this update video this evening. I hope that you're all doing really great. I hope you've been having a wonderful day thus far. And so this is just to bring you the latest in terms of what is happening this evening across the Caribbean. And we'll also be going over into the Pacific where there are two active tropical cyclones, one of which is a hurricane, the other prompting watches and warnings and already bringing impacts to parts of Mexico. So I'll be going into that further down in this update. And so before I go into details, please do subscribe if you haven't yet done so and tap the bell so that you never miss an important update. Alright, now as we take a look across the North Atlantic, there's lots of activity across some parts of the northeastern Caribbean and also out in the tropical Atlantic where there's a tropical wave. There are two tropical waves actually. One is making its way toward the Caribbean and will be bringing lots of rainfall. And I also want to bring you guys to that area of some activity well to the north of the eastern Caribbean. Now that is in association with a disturbance given a 10% chance to develop. So it's unlikely that we're going to be seeing development of this, but it should continue to make its way up to the north. And right now actually in the vicinity of Bermuda there is some shower and thunderstorm activity, so there are likely impacts being felt right now across the island. And so let's now go ahead and take a look at what is happening for the Caribbean and surrounding areas at a closer view. So we're starting out with northern South America, and we can see that there has been the development of lots of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon over in parts of Colombia, going to Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, and all this activity is in association with that other tropical wave that is propagating toward the west, heading to the Caribbean. So it will be approaching, as I said, this weekend and will be inducing lots of rainfall across the area. Seen a bit of overcast conditions for some parts of Aruba, nothing major. Curacao and Bonaire are in the clear. Heading to Trinidad, Tobago. For most of the Lesser Antilles, as a matter of fact, there isn't much going on. It should be a pretty hot and sunny afternoon, contrasting what was there a couple days ago. So for Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, the Grenadines, St. Vincent, Barbados, St. Lucia, Martinique, even for Dominica as well, it's sunny for the most part. But as we head further up north, zoom into that area, we can see here that there is a lot of showers and thunderstorms. So most of that activity has lifted up to the north, impacting the northeastern islands of the Caribbean. So we're talking about most of the Leeward Islands. So from Guadeloupe going all the way up to the north into the vicinity of Anguilla, there's likely been a lot of rainfall today. Some areas right now more than likely experiencing at least overcast conditions, maybe with some rainfall and even some thunderstorm activity for these islands here. But it has been a pretty rainy day, and some of that shower and thunderstorm activity was impacting parts of Puerto Rico. It has moved out a bit. More might make its way into the area, but the Virgin Islands have certainly been receiving a lot of rainfall. And you guys can let me know what conditions are like for you down in the comments. So many areas have been receiving some well-needed rainfall, but what wouldn't be preferable is to have a lot of rainfall in a short amount of time, because that can induce flooding across some areas. And so I hope that everyone being affected by this is doing okay despite the need for this rainfall, this long-awaited rain. And so going over, we can see a part of the Dominican Republic where there has been lots of showers and thunderstorms developing as well. Let's head further west into the region, and here we can see that for other areas such as for Jamaica, there has been lots of showers and thunderstorms developing across parts of the island this afternoon, particularly for most of the southern parishes. Going more over into the vicinity of St. Andrew and St. Thomas, though we're not seeing much, and for most northern parishes there isn't a whole lot going on. But hopefully some of that rainfall can spread out and actually allow most of us to have a nice cool evening, because it has been a pretty hot day, at least for me here in Montego Bay. For Little Cayman and Cayman Brac, there was some activity that's moving out now. Grand Cayman is in the clear. Other areas such as parts of the Turks and Caicos Islands, going up further into parts of the northern Bahamas, South Florida, Cuba, there is some shower and thunderstorm activity developing in these areas as well. And even as we head over into Central America, lots of activity across some parts of Guatemala, Belize, the Yucatan, heading further into Mexico. And where we see all this activity over to the left side of your screen, that is in association with a tropical cyclone over there. And so as we take a look over in the Eastern Pacific, there we have our two tropical cyclones, Tropical Storm Beatrice as well as Hurricane Adrian. Now, Adrian isn't a threat to land, and it should continue to fight those unfavorable conditions and eventually succumb to them. So it should weaken and eventually dissipate, especially as we're going to be heading into next week. So not a concern. What is a concern is Tropical Storm Beatrice, which was recently named by the National Hurricane Center, and it has even prompted hurricane watches and warnings, as well as tropical storm watches and warnings. And so Mexican states such as Oaxaca as well as Guerrero are already being impacted by Beatrice as the heavy rainfall is starting to spread into the area. But there are watches and warnings in place, as I said, and so conditions will only continue to deteriorate from this point onwards. So the highlighted in blue is a tropical storm warning, yellow indicates a tropical storm watch, red indicates a hurricane warning, and pink a hurricane watch. So I'm going to be listing the areas under watches and warnings, and please forgive me if I get some of these pronunciations wrong. So a hurricane warning that is in effect for Zihuatanejo to Playa Perula, Mexico. A hurricane watch is in effect for north of Playa Perula to Cabo Corrientes, Mexico. A tropical storm warning is in effect for south of Zihuatanejo to Punta Maldonado in Mexico, and then a tropical storm watch in effect for north of Cabo Corrientes to Punta Mita, Mexico. So we see that Mexico is really along the southwestern coast of Mexico, or the Pacific coast, likely going to be feeling these impacts, these hurricane and or tropical storm impacts, as Beatrice is going to be intensifying and making a close approach to the area. And so I hope that the preparations are underway, because this will be bringing life-threatening conditions, that a lot more heavy rainfall, that storm surge inundating coastal areas, as well as those strong winds. And so I'll continue to give the necessary updates on this cyclone as time goes by. And again, guys, over in the Caribbean, there's lots of activity across some areas. Things have improved a lot for most of the Eastern Caribbean, but that other tropical wave will be coming in, as I said, and will be dumping lots of rainfall heading to around Saturday, and thus increasing the risk of that flooding taking place. And so I'll continue to keep you guys updated as time goes by. So that is pretty much it for this video, and I hope that you found it to be quite informative. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will respond as best and as soon as I can. And remember to always be weatherwise.